Hello and welcome to another video about the construction of phase 2 of Heaton Lodge Junction. Now, I always said I was going to be honest with you when I was doing these videos, and just like any other modelers, we all have good days and we have bad days, but this week, honestly, it's been one of those weeks where I have literally taken one step forward and 3 steps backwards. Why? Well, to be honest with you, it's to do with the track lane that we talked about last week that's going in the cement factory complex, because I'd done earlier this week a whole raft of lovely sidings across the river, built the bridges and everything else, and then realised that the runaround loop for the big cement trains which are going to be using that complex, it's just not long enough for the 20 odd PCA wagons that I want to allocate to that loop. And so so I came in one morning earlier this week and just ripped the whole lot up again. And you know, I just said it, we've all been there, we've all done it. I'm certainly no different, and but it is a bit demoralizing sometimes when that happens, because consequently this week I was going to show you all the nice lovely work I've done, and now I can show you absolutely bugger all. But anyway, there we go. Anyway, after that happened, I turned to doing some painting. So I've just been repainting some Hellion 56 Loco bodies, but because I was so wound up about the track, I ended up spraying too much paint on a couple of them, so that the paint coats, especially on there, you can't see it, but yeah, it's basically on this one here, the paint is just too thick. But I think, to be honest, with a bit of weathering, bit of satin varnish, it should come up okay. But yeah, and I've said before, if there's one bit of advice that I can give you, as again, we're all modelers in one way or another, most of us anyway, is try not to finish what you're doing during the day or the evening, whether it's a garage you're working or the loft or anything else. Try not to finish on a bad note, because you will not want to go back the next day. And again, that is one thing I've learned. I do not let myself leave here unless I'm doing something I enjoy, because I just don't want to come back the next day. So anyway, that's about it for the introduction this week. In this video this week, we have got, though, I've been down to London yesterday to Heaton Studios, picked up a load more of these 3D printed parts, which I'm going to show you, including 400 coal loads. So I'm going to show you those, and we're also going to go back to basics, because as part of this phase 2, what I did allocate some time for in September to do, but I've ended up starting it now, is extending phase 1 just widthways by a couple of feet. And all it is just some basic landscaping, which I'm going to build using the bookshelf method, which I've been through before, but I'm going to go through again with you now. So yeah, so we've got bookshelf method, some landscaping, and I'm going to show you the resin parts, and I'm going to show you the total cock-up that I did on the cement factory. So before further ado, let's get cracking. So there's another view of the cement factory complex. We're going to go down the other end now, because I just want to show you all the 3D printed parts which Rob has made for me, and I picked up from him yesterday down in London. So we'll have a walk down. You probably remember as we're walking down, this is the first part of the HS3, as I call it, tongue-in-cheek, station complex. And we're going to be doing a lot on this in the next few weeks, because as you know, some of you know, I'm going to be replacing the track on some of the phase 1. Not much of it left to do there, but I'm going to be concentrating a lot on basically planning the route for HS3, which you're going to be part of. So we'll walk down here and we'll have a look at these boxes which I picked up yesterday. You can see all the track. And do you know, the amount of times that I walk up and down here, God knows how many steps I do, but at least I can find me cups of tea now. I've cleaned the place up. Anyway, so here we are. Right. So let's start with the coal loads, because we've touched on these before. Now, Robert's silicon printed these. He didn't do it 3D resin printed because it was just using too much raw materials. So there's actually 3 different humps. Some of you may remember that watched these videos recently, because back in the 80s, apparently people could tell, or train spotters or anybody into MGR trains could tell which colliery had loaded the train by how many humps the coal loads had. Now this is obviously the 3 hump version, of which there's 120, so there's enough for 3 or 4 trains there. We're still on the 3 hump version, or are we? No, we're on the 2 hump version in here. So there's another 120 of those. What else have we got? I've mixed them up, you know. Hang on a second. So that's more 3 hump versions. That's 2 hump versions. So where's the 1 hump versions? Must be in this box. Here, yes. So these are the 1 hump versions, which some of which are for HAAs and some are for HEAs, which are the slightly different versions of the HAAs. Interestingly, HAA wagons are all mechanically unloaded, and the HEAs are all manually loaded. So these are actually, looking at them, they're a bit wider. So these are for the HEAs. Now, Rob has said, make sure that you etch prime these, because I've still got bits of wax on from the silicone moulding. So I'm going to be etch priming these in black etch primer, spray etch primer, and then basically spraying them a kind of a, well, probably a satin colour to reflect the coal. And yeah, so that's the coal loads all done. Now, he told me actually to mention and brought me to task quite rightly, because I keep saying all these are 3D printed, all these parts. They're not actually. So basically the bigger stuff like this, for example, and these which I've just picked up, which are pipe carrying girders, which are for, again, the aforementioned cement factory complex. They're all made using what's called fused deposition modelling, using FDM printers, which basically uses a roll of filament that is melted and then it's deposited to make these actual much bigger structures. The smaller stuff, and I guess Rob's talking about things like this, which is the lamp standards, that these are for the HS3 platform station lights. They're using something called DLP, or digital light processing 3D printing. So for those of you into that, that's how he does it. It's all very clever stuff and way, way beyond me. But anyway, we've got more of these conveyor tops, and the conveyors are actually going to sit on these lattice. Just move this camera around so you can see better. So I've got 2 sets of these lattice kind of structures on which the conveyors sit, and they're different sizes. So we've got the smaller one as well, and they kind of gradually creep up at probably a 45-degree angle, and then the conveyors go into the side of some of the big buildings that we've already seen as part of the cement factory complex. We've also got lamp standards. Just find that top again. What have I done with it? Hang on a second. Can't find it, so we'll just move on. We've got these are obviously the line side cabinets for relays and what have you. So Rob's printed me some of these. You can buy these in a double O gauge and O gauge, obviously, but I just thought I'll get him to do them because he can make them very, very detailed. And we've also got some fencing, which is specifically modern fencing for again, the HS3 station that you've just seen. So that's going to mimic really modern kind of, metal fencing that you see on these kind of stations. Right, I found the lamp standard. So the lamp standard consists of 2 parts, and these basically, I'm holding the camera with one hand, so bear with me. Just put the lid at the top on. Here we go. So with the top on, you're looking at like this. The top comes off. These are hollow, and so you can fit LEDs in the top, and then I'm going to run the wires down the center of them, drop them through the platform, and then they're going to be powered from underneath the platform. So yeah, those are looking good. We've mentioned already the pipe carrying lattices, which are much more chunky, simply because these pipes in cement factory complexes are absolutely huge. Rob's also made me some more ventilators. These are ventilators. I won't get them out of the bag, but these ventilators actually sit on the top of many an industrial building, and that you can never have enough of those. They look really good. So more ventilators. We've also got some lattices, these always come in useful for constructing anything industrial in factories. So I wanted a few of these because I just want to, yeah, just make all sorts of lattice structures around the parts of the cement factory and whatnot. We've also got some more lights. These are industrial lights. Again, these will just secure to the side of buildings. I'll put an LED in here and thread the wires through the ends. And finally, I wanted to show you this, which is, some of you will know, if you're from Yorkshire and you're a Healy Mills fan, you'll remember this bridge because it used to run from the embankment where the actual main admin building was, and it enabled the drivers and anybody signing on for work to walk across all the tracks, and then they'd come down these steps. And in fact, I haven't modelled it, but on this particular bridge, there was a crane which ran along the roof here and right out the end, and it used to be there for, I don't know, picking up heavy objects or whatever. But it's quite that's quite intricate. That really like that. And Rob's made these in sections so we can have. This is one section here without the steps. I've just attached the steps, but there's different sections for different for different parts of the layout. So I can use this bridge anywhere where, you know, staff need to get into the relevant building. So that's really good. And there's the other bit there. So we're going to, that's just a pilot one actually. He wanted to basically let me take this to see how it fitted on the layout, and I'm going to be doing this after I've made this video today. So there we are, more resin parts. These coal loads, which, and I should say as well, I've said it before, but all these parts, in fact, every single part that I've had designed and printed, I will make all these available in both double O gauge and O gauge. Later on, when I've got this layout out next year, I'll make a website and I'll make them available to everybody. So yeah, that's going forward. But yeah, these coal loads, these work out about £4 each, which, you know, yeah, it's not too bad. If you need just a few of them, that's great. But if you imagine the number I've got, it has worked out quite expensive, a couple of £1,000. And I know people are going to probably think, what the hell's he doing? But I do need them because the industrial part of this layout and the portraying all these huge MGR trains, of which there's going to be at least 15 or 16 running on the layout, is really important to the concept of Heaton Lodge Junction Phase 2. So I've had to bite the bullet and get these done. But I think once these are painted, I'm so pleased, if the camera can pick it up, just how intricate these are. These are silicone molded, and it's so clever how almost every little bit of what looks like coal has been picked up. And interestingly, some of you will know anyway, especially those of you that were drivers pulling these MGR trains, the coal was almost like dust. And that's exactly what I wanted to portray. It's much too easy to make the chunks of coal way too big, but these are just about spot on. The coal actually that was carried in HEA wagons was usually a bit more chunkier, but these are going to double for HEAs and HAAs, the one hump version. So I've just decided to make them all the same. Right, we're going to take a look at landscaping. Yeah, I've got the my favourite loco, 9F210O Evening Star, in the camera lens there for no other reason well, no reason at all. I just like looking at it. It's such a great loco. I reckon these are just like these locos. Well, they're basically the equivalent, I suppose, of the Class 56s and the grids and the Class 60s, because they were a freight loco designed by R.A. Riddles, and yeah, what a stalwart they were back in their day. And of course, there's not many left now, but Evening Star still exists, albeit it's not running and in the National Railway Museum. But anyway, I'm digressing. Let's have a look at landscaping, because all this landscaping that I did between 2013, when I first started this layout, this is phase one, of course, and 2019, when I kind of really finished it, is all built, all the landscaping is built using polystyrene. And I've used that for all sorts of reasons, basically because it's strong, it's light. You've heard all this before in other YouTube videos. But the best thing is you can plant things in it, like those trees over there, those stone walls, which you can just see there's a little man there taking photos. And all those bracken leaves, if you like. I've mentioned this before too, but these were all etched. They're all etched brass. Each one had to be placed individually to make these enormous kind of outcrops of dead bracken ferns. And God, they really did have an effect on my mental health when I'd finished these, because you've got to bend over the tops of them, you've got to put them in plaster, then you've got to spray them brown. My goodness. But I'm glad I did it, because they really do look the part. But anyway, we're moving away from the topic again. This is what I wanted to show you. So this is where we are going to be with phase one and the extension. Now, basically what I've done over the other side is just half a board of polystyrene landscaping, which again, as I've just said, is exactly the same as all the other landscaping I've done beforehand. And all I've used to extend this, because I think just by making it an extra 2 foot is going to add massively to the background. And with these huge screens, which are just to the left, you can just see these here. These are going to be used to hold the back scene. So the back scene is going to be a good 7 feet high. So nobody will be able to see over the top of it, but it will really kind of frame everything, which I think is what I'm really trying to achieve. So yeah, there we go with the landscaping. We're going to have a look exactly how I do this. It's easy. It's relatively inexpensive, and you can extend your own layout in whatever gauge you're modeling in, if you've got the room, by using the bookcase method, which I'm going to be using. And it's going to run all the way down there, yet for at least another, well, 55 meters in total. But I think I worked out it's probably going to cost me about £330 in racks and shelving and everything else, and polystyrene. And I can do one of these boards. That's one board there, as the camera's showing. I can do one of these boards. I can plaster it. Well, it's not really plaster, but I'll show you what it is in a minute. Paint it, static grass it. Once the paint and the plaster's dry, which is overnight, it all works out. I can do a whole board like this in literally 6 hours and make it look exactly like these here. Now, these extensions are not going to be massively, they're not going to have loads of features on. They're going to have the odd tree, probably some fences, and just static grass. But we're going to be doing all that in the next few weeks. So if you like landscaping, keep watching in the future, because there's going to be a lot of this going on. But I really enjoy this part of the hobby. I just like making things, creating things. I'm not a massive fan of actually running trains. I love watching them go past, but operating them, I'd rather just see them go past, because that's exactly what most of us used to do as children. Anyway, so there we go. But don't you think it probably difficult to see on camera, but it really does add massively to the layout. And it's important to point out that on the real thing back at Heaton Lodge near Mirfield in West Yorkshire, which of course is what the whole layout is a portrayal of, that is exactly how it is. If you go to the real place, you can walk up an embankment, you can walk to the stone wall, climb over the stone wall, and you've got another huge embankment exactly like that, that runs all the way down for at least 1.5 miles. So yeah, we're going to be doing this in the next few weeks. Let's take a quick look, and it will be a quick look, just a few minutes, at how I carve the polystyrene. So what's the bookcase method as I've christened it? Well, it's exactly that. It just uses these racks and bookcase holders from B&Q or Wix. They're not that expensive. You can buy them in short sections. You can screw it to the side of your layout, again, in whatever gauge you're modeling, but they will take at least 4 or 5 kilos. Now, these are the longest shelf kind of supports you can get. I think they're 18 inches, but I've stretched it as usual, story of my life. And these are 2 foot wide, these MDF 12 millimeter thick boards. And basically what I'm going to be doing here is just mounting a very light mix of polystyrene, carving it, and then putting all the landscaping on. So they're not going to be carrying much. They are going to be annoying to transport because there's not much you can put them in apart from trunks to take them from place to place. But I am going to fit handles to the underside here, so it's easy to lift them out. But it will, as I said earlier, just add a lot to the width of phase 1. So again, let us have a look and see exactly how it's done. Right, let's get cracking with polystyrene carving and building a landscape. Now, obviously we need the polystyrene. I get this in sheets from, where do I get it? Online. Just put in polystyrene sheets. These are, I can't remember, these are 2-3 centimeters thick. And you can get them from Wix, you can get them from B&Q as well. So yeah, whatever. I'm using 4 here because I reckon the top of the embankment is roughly, if you look at it, it looks as though it might just lend itself to a nice slope down to the top of here. And that's what I'm going to try and do next. So I'm going to carve these sheets to align with this embankment here. Now, in your cases or whatever you're doing, all you need to do is just build up these sheets to the height, as I've just said, that you need to go to. And then you're going to need the tools. So the tools you need, it depends how much you're doing. Now, I do a lot. And this tool here, which is from Hilltop Tools, if you Google them, you can get these polystyrene carver or cutter. And you can get ones from Pico, which are much cheaper, or from Squires or what have you. But these are quite expensive. This is actually carved all of phase 1 of Heaton Lodge Junction. So it has really seen some service, as you can see. But it works really well. I think these are about 130 quid, so they're not cheap. But they do come with a couple of blades and they work really well if you've got a lot of polystyrene carving to do. If you've only got a small amount, obviously get a much cheaper one. I think you can get them for a tenner in some places, but obviously they're much smaller. The main thing you need to do is when you're carving is never carve more than the width of the foam carver you're using. So what I'm going to start by doing is just basically making, one thing I forgot, and really this is important, you need a mask. Seriously, I'm not one of these health and safety nutters. In fact, I pour scorn on a lot of it, but in this case, polystyrene is pretty toxic. So I am going to use this mask, which, as you can see, I don't use often because I don't know even how the hell to put it on. But there we go. I think that's the right way of doing it. See, I don't mind making myself look an idiot on camera. Yeah, you need to use a mask. And basically what I'm going to start by doing, if you can still hear me, is just making sure I cut sections widthways, but no wider than the blade. So basically something like, I reckon, here. So I'm pressing the button to heat it up. Just takes a few seconds, and then this will easily cut through these sections. A row of 4 of these polystyrene sheets is probably about as much as I want to do, because I can't even feel the blade cutting right to the bottom. We're only going to do a couple of these because you'll get the gist of it pretty soon. Yeah, I can smell it from here. It stinks. Ah, that's better. I can feel the bottom now. So it's just a case of cutting thin sections like a loaf of bread. Now notice as well, I've not glued anything at all. So I'm going to do one more. Let me see from this way if I can see it. That's better. So about this, I reckon. Yeah, I can feel the bottom now. Just going along. You can actually cut polystyrene with a bread knife, but my God, don't it half make a mess or what? I'll just go through it again. Right, I reckon, just put this down a sec. So that is basically 2 sections here. So now we've done that, we're going to make the actual shape of the polystyrene of the embankment, which again, keep saying it, this is exactly what I did in phase 1. And if you like how all this looks, this is what you need. Because as I said earlier, you can put anything in it. You can stick anything in it. Just move this out of the way. That is just about, yeah, we'll just about cover it. So I'm going to start from here and I'm just going to make a cut. It's all a question of your eye here. Trying to line everything up. But a bit of practice and honestly you will make it. There we go. Down we go. Oh God, it's a little bit low, but not to worry. Right, so I've done that. You just lift this off. The only thing with polystyrene as well, which is one of the negatives, apart from it being nasty stuff when you carve it, is you create a lot of waste, which is really a bit, where are we now? That's it. So yeah, it does create a lot of waste, which is annoying, but there you go. Right, so now I've got the basic shape. I'm just going to tidy it up a bit. So the basic shape is there. Again, I've cut a bit too much off this end, but not to worry. Do you remember years ago, people used to use what papier-mâché did when I was a kid anyway? Or chicken wire. Bloody hell. Right, so there we go. Now, what I normally do here is I will cut the next section. I'm just going to do this now. Cut the next section. I'll show you for why in a sec. It's better to cut them thinner. So again, whatever foam carve you're using is well able to do the carving, if you know what I mean. So it can handle the width of the what you've just cut. Right, okay, we're just going to move that out of the way. Cut that there. Move that out of the way. And then you can see, if you put these together, you've got another little section which you can just basically copy. In fact, even better, because I've not glued anything together. Oh, that's bloody melting into there, but it'll create a nice little hillock. Turn it round. And then you can just copy exactly what you've done. So again, we will just copy the curvature. Actually, you guys can't see it there, can you? Or can you? You might be able to see it on the other camera. 2 cameras today, crikey. Right, okay, so we're just going to copy the curvature. Nearly there. Again, it's a messy business, is this. Right, there we go. Stick that down for a sec. Lift these off. It's just about right. Doesn't matter about all these little bits sticking up either, because they're going to get covered by the plaster. So all I do next is basically use masking tape to put across each of these here. Again, it's all going to be covered with plaster or whatever we're going to use. I think we're going to do this next week because it's going to make, as things get on, it gets much more interesting. But that is basically how I carve the the polystyrene using masking tape, gaffer tape. Gaffer tape's not quite as good because it's got a shiny surface, but masking tape, take this bloody mask off now, excuse my French. Masking tape is much better because it just joins everything together, and then I just use glue. You can use any glue, Yoo-hoo, whatever, wood glue, just to basically, in fact, just bear with me one sec. Okay, so we're back with the glue, and it's basically no nonsense grab adhesive. I've broken the nozzle off the end, which is very common with me, and then I just basically put a dab on each one of these and stick them on to each other. So it's really, really easy, he says, but it is, seriously. It's just a case of gluing those together, and then next week what we're going to do is we're going to cover all this with masking tape, and then we're going to cover the lot with plaster. Once that's dried, we can paint it. Now, I know Jeff, who watches these videos, thanks Jeff, he said, and quite rightly, if you're plastering this stuff, it's best to mix the paint in, the brown paint, at the same time. I'm using quite a thick plaster, so I can't do that. But next week, I'll show you how I'm just going to daub on the plaster, and we're going to paint it brown, and then we can do the static grass. I don't know what that screw's doing there. And then we can do the static grass, which we're going to go through as well. So I'm going to leave it for this week. Again, polystyrene for landscaping. I just don't think you can beat it. You can plant so much in it. Trees, stone walls. These are from Scotland, these stone walls. I know I'm digressing, and I can't remember who made them. I'll remember next week. But I bought so many of these. They're superb. You can get them in double O gauge and O gauge. I just can't remember the name. It'll pop up on your screen in a sec. And yeah, it just takes anything. So that's why I like polystyrene carving. But we'll come back to this next week. Okay, folks, that is just about it for this week. So I just want to thank you for watching, of course, and please like and subscribe. Just a couple of things. Facebook. Yeah, I think some of you may remember that my original Facebook page got hacked by a Chinese shopping channel. And so this time, I put the details up a few weeks ago. Loads of you have joined, and I do try and post every few days. You do have to be approved to join, and that just in that way, it just gets rid of all the people that are trying to post porn and God knows what else on there. So, and it happens in all the Facebook pages that are public. So that's why I made it private. So please join it if you want some more updates, and you can suggest anything to me, because again, doing these videos, I've said it so many times, but there's so many really good suggestions and so much support. It really does mean a lot, because I've literally changed so many things from what people have said and suggested on the YouTube channel comments and on the Facebook page. Next week, no video. I can almost see the shouts of horror. I'm only joking. But no, I'm going to have a few days in Devon. I'm going to call in and see a couple of friends at Pico. So I'm going to Beer in Devon, which is near Heaton. If any of you want to go to a nice little village in Devon, go to Beer. It's absolutely stunning. Probably the most beautiful, sunny beach and cove, seriously, I've ever seen in the UK. It's absolutely stunning. So, yeah, I'm going to go down there for a few days. Probably won't have time to fit anything in by the time I get back. So I will see you in a couple of weeks. Was there anything else? No, not really, apart from I'll try and be in a better mood when I'm back off holiday. And I'll just leave you with this. My mum gave me this a few years ago when I first started building phase 1 of Heaton Lodge. And I always look at it when I go out, because it's a quote by somebody famous, Goethe, I think, that did it probably many centuries ago.
but it always makes me think, as well as that quote, and I don't know who did it, but build it big and they will come. Well, I hope they do come. But here's the quote I'm talking about, and I'll see you soon.